Hey, what's up everyone? Today I've got some stuff that'll keep you on edge. If you enjoy it, hit subscribe and leave a like. Here we go. My dog, German Shepherd, 4 years old, has been growling at the same closet every single night for a month. Tonight, I finally opened the wall panel behind it. This was posted to r/nosleep 3 days ago by Throwaway Closet Dog. And look, I know the title already tells you where this is heading, but the way this one unfolds is what makes it stick with you. OP is a 27-year-old woman living by herself, and she opens up by talking about her dog. I'm, 27-year-old female, living alone in a small rental house at the edge of a pretty quiet neighborhood. It's just me and my German Shepherd, Rex. He's 4 years old, calm, well-trained, the kind of dog who never barks without a reason. That matters for what I'm about to tell you. About a month ago, Rex started acting strange. Every single night, somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., he would get out of bed, walk down the hall to the guest bedroom, and plant himself in front of the closet. Hackles raised, this low, steady growl that just would not stop. At first, I figured mice, maybe pipes settling in the walls. I kept telling myself it was nothing, but it never stopped. Every night, same time, same spot, same growl. Last Thursday, I finally decided to actually look. I grabbed a flashlight, got inside the closet, moved some old boxes. That's when I felt it. The back panel was loose. Not broken, loose. Like someone had removed it and set it back in place. I pulled it off. Behind it was a narrow crawl space I was never told existed. Inside, there was a rolled-up sleeping bag, empty water bottles, a phone charger plugged into a hidden outlet, and Polaroid photos. Dozens of them. All of me, sleeping. Some taken from my bedroom doorway, some from right beside my bed. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Rex was behind me going absolutely crazy, and all I could do was stand there staring at proof that someone had been inside my house, inches from me, while I slept. And that is where this post just drops you. She is standing in her own closet holding photos of herself that she never posed for, taken from angles that mean someone was standing over her while she was unconscious. Someone has been living in her walls, and without Rex, she might never have known. She pulled that panel off and saw what no one should ever have to find inside their own home. Now the panic hits, and the next few hours change everything. This is 2 hours of her life compressed down, and trust me, it only gets worse from here. Because up until this point, she could still tell herself, maybe it was mice, maybe the pipes. That is done now. I backed out of that closet so fast I tripped over Rex. My hands were shaking so bad it took me 3 tries to dial 911. I grabbed Rex, my phone, my keys, and got in my car, locked every door. Sat in the driveway with the engine running. I don't even remember what I said to the dispatcher. Just remember repeating, someone has been living in my walls. Cops arrived in maybe 12 minutes. They cleared the house room by room. When they got to the crawl space, they radioed for more units. One officer came out and said someone had clearly been spending extended time in there. Then they showed me the Polaroids. Dozens of them. All of me, sleeping. Some were taken from my bedroom doorway. Others from right beside my bed, close enough to touch me. A few had dates written on the back in pen. The earliest one was from 5 months ago. Rex only started growling 4 weeks ago. Whoever this person is, they were coming into my house and standing over me while I slept for months before my dog even caught on. Officers dusted for prints and asked who had access to the property. I told them just me and my landlord. He has a master key. They wrote it down and asked a bunch of questions I barely remember answering. I did not go back inside. I went to Sarah's apartment and sat on her couch with Rex pressed against my legs and every light on. I did not sleep. I just sat there all night replaying every creak I blamed on the house settling. Every morning I woke up feeling like something was slightly off, and I told myself I was being paranoid. I was not paranoid. I was right every single time. The landlord detail. Hold on to that one. It is going to matter more than she realizes right now. And the thing she keeps circling back to is Rex. Every single night for weeks, that dog planted himself at the closet door, trying to warn her. And every night, she told him to stop and went back to bed. Now she is sitting up at 3 in the morning in someone else's apartment, knowing it was never nothing. Not even once. So OP doesn't just sit around waiting for answers. She goes full defense mode. I went out the next morning and bought 4 wireless security cameras, set them up in every hallway, the living room, and one pointed directly at that closet. While I was walking around the side of the house checking the Wi-Fi signal, I noticed something I'd never paid attention to before. A basement hatch, half buried under overgrown bushes near the back corner of the house. It was unlocked. I called the police again and reported it. They said they'd send someone out, but it could take a few days. A few days. I'm sleeping in a house where someone was living inside my walls, and they need a few days. I started keeping a knife on the nightstand. Rex slept on the bed with me every night, pressed right up against my side like he knew. My friend Sarah finally called me and said, "Pack a bag right now. You're staying with me." So I did. I left the cameras running and connected everything to my phone. Every 20 minutes, I was checking that app, refreshing, watching empty rooms in night vision green. I couldn't stop. Then, at 1:47 a.m., I got a notification. Motion detected. Guest bedroom hallway. I opened the app and my hands went completely numb. And that's where she cuts it off. But the comments were already losing it. The fact that he had a charger in there means he was spending enough time that his phone was dying. I'm going to be sick. I'm a locksmith, and I've seen hidden spaces in old houses before, but the outlet and the charger make this premeditated. He built that setup. This wasn't opportunistic. Please tell me you're checking if there are cameras, too. If he had that much access and that much time, there is zero chance he didn't plant something else in the house. The police swept the bathroom and bedroom and found 2 pinhole cameras. One was in the smoke detector directly above my bed. I can't even think about how long those have been there without feeling like I'm going to pass out. They're pulling whatever was stored on them now, and I honestly don't know if I want to know what's on there. That motion alert at 1:47 a.m. is sitting there unanswered. And trust me, what she sees on that footage changes everything. OP came back with an update post, and this one hit different. I watched the footage, and I haven't stopped shaking since yesterday morning. I finally watched the camera footage. At 1:47 a.m., a man comes through the basement hatch. He doesn't fumble. He doesn't use a flashlight. He moves through my house like he has done it 100 times. It was my landlord. The same guy who smiled at me during the lease signing and told me to call if I ever needed anything. Police arrested him Thursday morning, but here is the part that broke me. Inside the crawl space, investigators found a journal. 14 months of entries. I have lived in this house for 8 months. The first 6 months of that journal are not about me. They describe the woman who rented this house before I did, another young woman living alone. He was doing this to someone else first. I sat in the detective's office and they read me 3 entries from the early pages, and I had to ask them to stop. He described her routines the same way he described mine. What time she showered, when she turned the lights off, which days she came home late. I keep thinking about her going about her life with absolutely no idea someone was behind the wall. I keep thinking about how close I came to never knowing either. If Rex had not started growling at that closet, I would still be sleeping 10 feet from that man. The comments on this one were intense. Your dog deserves a steak every single day for the rest of his life. He was literally trying to tell you someone was in your walls. The Polaroids are what got me. Not a phone camera, Polaroids. Like he wanted physical trophies he could hold. That's serial predator behavior. This exactly. Polaroids can't be traced digitally, can't be accidentally uploaded, can't show up in a cloud backup. He chose that format deliberately. This guy has done this before, or has spent a very long time thinking about doing it. Rex knew. Rex always knew. So here's where things finally landed. The landlord was charged with stalking, breaking and entering, and criminal trespassing. He was held without bail. My lawyer got the lease broken the same week. No penalties, no questions asked. I packed everything I owned into my car with Rex in the passenger seat, and I drove 14 hours to a city where I didn't know a single person. I needed that. I needed to be somewhere no one had a key to my door. Police reached out to the previous tenant, a woman in her early 30s who lived there for 2 years before me. She told them she always felt uneasy in that house, but could never explain why. She never had a pet. She never checked the closet. I think about her a lot. I think about how long he was in those walls before Rex started growling. I think about every single night I slept in that bed thinking I was alone. Your home is supposed to be the one place in the world where you can close your eyes and feel safe. I don't have that anymore. I'm in a new apartment now. New city, new locks, new life. But I still wake up at 2 a.m. every single night. And every single night, I get out of bed and I check every closet in this apartment. Rex comes with me. He always comes with me. The comments on this final post hit a little different. 14 months? That means the previous tenant had no idea either. I wonder if they had a pet that acted weird too. You drove 14 hours with your dog and started over. That is not running away. That is surviving. Proud of you, stranger. Has anyone else noticed her account went completely silent after this? Last post was 3 days ago. Nothing since. I just hope she and Rex are okay wherever they ended up. And honestly, that's the thing about this story that stays with me. It's not the crawl space or the Polaroids or the journal. It's that without Rex, without a dog that refused to stop growling at a closet at 2 in the morning, she might never have found out. She'd still be sleeping in that house, and he'd still be in the walls. All right, on to the next one. I found an old photo of my grandmother. Every time I print it, there's a different person standing behind her. This was posted to r/nosleep 3 days ago by QuietLena04. It reads like one of those quiet horror stories where nothing jumps out at you. The dread just builds, one detail at a time, until you realize you've been holding your breath. She opens the post like this. I, 26-year-old female, lost my grandmother about 6 weeks ago. She left me her house. This old place past the county line she'd lived in alone for 20 years. Nobody else wanted it, so I drove out to start clearing things by myself. Most of it was normal. Old furniture, stacks of receipts, clothes that still smelled like her perfume. But in her bedroom, there was this vanity with a drawer that wouldn't open. I had to pry it with a flathead. Inside was one thing, a photograph. Faded, edges curling in. My grandmother as a young woman, maybe early 20s, standing in front of a house I didn't recognize. Behind her was a figure, slightly blurred like they moved right as the shutter went off. I scanned it to preserve it and hit print. First copy comes out and the figure behind her is a man. Older, stern-looking, nobody I've ever seen. I figured the scan pulled more detail, so I printed again to compare. Second print, completely different person. A woman this time, younger, dark hair pulled back. I held them next to each other. Same file, same grandmother, different stranger behind her. I printed a third time. Another person I've never seen. My hands were shaking, but I hit print one more time. The fourth copy came out and I almost dropped it. The person standing behind my grandmother was me. I was wearing a dress I do not own, standing in a room I have never set foot in, and I was looking directly into the camera. Has anyone ever heard of anything like this? I'm sitting in her kitchen right now and I don't know what to do. She left the post right there. No follow-up, no resolution. Just that question hanging in the air and a drawer that probably should have stayed locked. This one goes deeper than you think. QuietLena04 came back, and what she found next made that fourth print look like a warning she should have listened to. OP didn't sleep that night. She couldn't even leave the kitchen. All 4 prints spread out under the overhead light, and she's just sitting there staring at number 4. The one with her own face, standing in a room she has never been in. The room in that photo doesn't exist anywhere I've been. Floral wallpaper, dark wood furniture, lace curtains on a window I don't recognize. None of it matches Grandma's house, or any house I've ever visited. I couldn't stop myself. I printed again around 3 in the morning. 5th print came out, and there was a teenage boy standing behind Grandma, maybe 15, dark hair parted to the side. I've never seen him before, but he was standing closer to her than any of the other figures. I printed one more. The 6th copy showed an older woman, silver hair pulled back tight, her arm nearly grazing Grandma's shoulder. That's when the pattern hit me. Each figure is physically closer to Grandma than the one before, like they're inching toward her. I started tearing through the house looking for anything that might explain what I was seeing. In the back of Grandma's bedroom closet, I found a small leather journal. Cracked spine, yellowed pages, her handwriting. Inside were names and dates going back decades. No explanation, no context, just names and dates. I started Googling them one by one. Elias Doran, Margit Doran, Theda Koss. These are family names, people I've heard whispered about at reunions but never actually met. I called my mom and told her everything. The prints, the faces changing, the journal. She went dead silent. Then she said, "Stop printing that photo. I'm coming over tomorrow." She hung up before I could ask anything else. Each figure closer than the last, like something being measured in inches. And OP already showed up in one of those prints. So now it's the middle of the night, and she's sitting alone in her dead grandmother's house with 6 impossible photographs, a journal full of names she can barely trace, and a mother who refused to explain a single thing until morning. Whatever her mom knows, it was enough to make her drop everything and drive over. And OP has to get through the whole night by herself first. OP's mom showed up the next morning, and the conversation did not go the way anyone expected. My mom walked in, and I had all the prints laid out on the kitchen table. She didn't even take her coat off. She just stood there staring at them, and her face went white. I watched her pick them up one by one, and she knew every single face. "That's your Uncle David. He died when he was 19. That's Great Aunt Margit. She passed before you were born. That one? That's baby Elias, your cousin. He didn't make it past 6 months." I asked her how this was possible, and she wouldn't answer. She just kept saying, "Delete the scan. Burn the prints. All of it." I pushed harder. I pointed at print number 4 and said, "Mom, that's me. Why am I in this photo?" She sat down and started crying. She said, Grandma was into things from the old country, practices involving photographs and spirits, things she should never have touched. Then she grabbed her bag and said she needed to talk to my aunt before she could say anything else. And she left. I sat there for maybe an hour. Then I hit print. The new one came out, and it was me again. Same dress from print 4, but this time I wasn't in the background. I was standing right beside her, close enough to touch her shoulder. And that's when the comment section started connecting dots OP hadn't seen yet. The fact that you're wearing clothes you don't own is what got me. That means it's not pulling from your memory or your phone gallery. It's showing you something that hasn't happened yet. The clothes you don't own yet. That detail is going to keep me awake tonight. It implies a version of you that already exists in whatever space that photo accesses. Your grandmother locked that photo in a drawer for a reason. She knew what it did. She chose not to destroy it. That part unsettles me more than anything else in this post. That's what I keep circling back to. She had decades to burn it. She kept it locked, but she kept it. My mom said Grandma was always protective of that drawer. Wouldn't even let my grandfather near it. I think she needed it for something. I think she was checking the prints to see who was next, and I think she stopped checking once she saw her own face in one of them. Every print pulls her closer, and OP just gave it another chance to finish the job. OP went quiet for a few days after that last print. Then she came back with an update post. I burned the photo, but my mother found another copy, and I'm closer in it now. I finally got a hold of my aunt. She didn't want to talk at first, but I told her what I had been seeing in the prints, and she went dead silent. Then she told me everything. My grandmother practiced a regional folk tradition, a form of spirit photography. The camera was believed to capture the next person in the family line who would die. She took that photograph deliberately. It was a record. Every figure standing behind her in the background is someone who died after the photo was taken, in the exact order they appeared. The ritual was supposed to be closed when my grandmother passed. There was a specific prayer. The photo was meant to be buried with her. But she died suddenly, and nobody performed the closing. My aunt said the photo is still active, still pulling in faces. I asked what it means that I showed up in print 4, and she went quiet for a long time. Then she just said, you're next in the sequence. I asked about destroying the photo and she shook her head. She said the scan is a copy of the ritual, not just the image. The intention was sealed into the original exposure. Copying it digitally preserved all of it. The reaction to this update was intense. I work in photo restoration and I've never heard of a digital scan producing different outputs from the same file. That's not how image data works. Whatever is happening isn't coming from the file. That's actually the most horrifying implication here. If the file data is identical every time, same hash, same bytes, then whatever is changing the output is happening between the file and the printer. Something is intercepting the image at the moment of rendering. The photo isn't haunted. The act of looking is haunted. Please tell me you stopped printing after the fourth one. I know curiosity is a monster, but do not print a fifth copy. And that last line from the ant is what sticks. You can burn the paper, you can wipe the file, but if the ritual lives in the act of looking, then OP has already seen too much. OP came back a few days later with an update post, and this is where the whole thing finally lands. I burned the photo, but my mother found another copy, and I'm closer in it now. I did everything I could think of. I burned every single print in the backyard fire pit and watched the paper curl and blacken until there was nothing left but ash. Then I went inside, deleted the scan from my laptop, emptied the recycle bin, ran a full disk cleanup. I even wiped the printer memory because at that point, I was not taking any chances. And for 2 days, nothing. No new prints showing up, no weird feelings in the house, just silence. I actually slept through the night for the first time in weeks. I thought it was over. Then my mom called. Her voice was shaking so bad I thought someone had died. She had been going through grandmother's things on her end, old boxes from the house that got packed up years ago and never opened. She found grandmother's Bible, the one that sat on her nightstand for decades that nobody ever touched. Tucked between the pages of Psalms was another print of the photograph. Same image, same grandmother as a young woman, but in this copy, I am standing directly behind her shoulder, close enough to touch her, closer than any of the previous prints ever showed me. I don't know how to destroy something that keeps finding its way back. That last line just sits with you. She is done fighting it, and you can hear it. One comment on this final post really landed. Spirit photography was a real Victorian practice, but it was always faked. The difference here is your grandmother apparently made it work. That's terrifying. Because the horror in this story is not a ghost. It is not a monster hiding in a basement. It is a photograph that already knows your name. A ritual that counts its way down through bloodlines, face by face, print by print. And the thing that makes it stay with you is that nauseating realization. You can't outrun something that has been waiting for you since before you even existed. And that is the last story for today.